When I'm in the IT workspace, likely I'm doing one of two things. I'm either developing and creating something new, or I'm trying to repair or fix someone else's challenges or problems. And that requires a high level troubleshooting mindset. And that's one of the things I think we do pretty well.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the 101 Digital Podcast. I'm Craig Meyer, the CEO of 101 Digital, and today we have on a very special guest. He's actually one of my former high school teachers, Brett Thompson. Brett, can you just give us a quick little description of, who you are, what you do at the school, and yeah.
Yep. I just want to say thanks, Craig, for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you today. I'm a longtime educator in District 203. I primarily teach in the Technology and Engineering Education Department. Next year, I'll be the Career Internship Coordinator and Program Director for the internship program.
Awesome. Yeah, and I mean, just a real quick backstory of how we kind of reconnected was it was probably last summer, right around the same time. Brett actually reached out to me, saw that 101 Digital was doing well, looked like we could be a potential employer to take on a high school intern, and we got a really good intern out of it, and we were super excited about it. So one of the first things that I kind of want to talk through, as we've been kind of going down this community and education path is, how is it that you've kind of got these high school interns so ready, for, an internship?
Well, I think when we talk about IT, the first question that comes up is, what is IT? IT can mean, 1,000 different things. And so we have it narrowed down to basically two pathways. The first pathway is software and software development, app development. And the second pathway then is hardware, kind of break, fix, help desk. And in our software app development course sequence, we offer 4 courses. The first course is Computer Programming 1, and that's computational thinking through the use of through the use of Python, and then Computer Programming 2 is more computational thinking, still with Python, but then we start to layer on some physicality of computing and interfacing with hardware. The third class then is a full year AP computer science course, and that's kind of controlled by the College Board. But in that course, we're using Java. And then the third class is a full year course, and that's software engineering. And that's where we start to see more of the kind of like the team-based challenges in our coursework. We start to see industry processes like Scrum and Agile being used. It's really more language agnostic. I don't know that the language really matters in that course as much as the processes.
Yeah, that seems like pretty high level stuff too.
Yeah, it really is. For years we had AP Computer Science, and that was kind of the highest level capstone level course for our software app development sequence. And then probably about 3-4 years ago, we added the software engineering course, and the students have responded to it very well.
And I know you're going to get into now the hardware side, but really quick on Python, we see it used a lot on the networking side, right?
Yeah.
There's actually a couple of companies that I've worked with in the past that they've used, full Python scripting to build out the actual networking, and also build out the Wi-Fi networks, so you can really automate your build outs. Again, it's software, but it's going to then interact with the hardware side.
Yeah, and it has a short learning curve, and it seems to be universal, so it's a great language to start with. On the hardware side, we have ITS 1 and 2. ITS means Information Technology Systems 1 and 2, both 1 semester courses. They align pretty closely with the CompTIA learning objectives. So in that first course, ITS 1, students are going to learn all things computer hardware. So, like what is a motherboard? What is a power supply? What is a stick of memory, a processor, a video card, et cetera. And then we'll get into some hardware troubleshooting. So that's where the teacher will kind of configure some hardware errors, and then the students have to troubleshoot. Students really enjoy the troubleshooting piece. And then by the end of that semester, we get into software. So we're installing operating systems, we're maintaining and troubleshooting operating systems. So by the end of that first semester, students are looking at faulty images, whether they're physically installed locally on the hard drive or through a virtual machine, and they're troubleshooting images. And so that's how we can build those strong troubleshooting skills. We get in pretty deeply with our students that first semester in ITS 1. In ITS 2, second semester, we're going to look more at networking. So we're going to turn to wired networking, wireless networking. We're going to get into a little bit of Linux and a little bit of security, a little bit of network security, and just touch on computer forensics. So that'll get us through ITS 2 as a full year, ITS 1, ITS 2. The second year of the program then is cybersecurity. So again, we're going to dive into networking concepts, personal security, and then enterprise level security. So by the time a student walks out of that program, they are really proficient with computer hardware, computer software, networking, and networking security concepts. And that's the pathway that James took prior to coming to 101 Digital.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like there's some policy work in there too, which is extremely important, especially on the security side.
Mhm. I'd like to comment too that we talk a lot about the details of the curriculum, but as a teacher, I'm primarily interested in the skill set that the students walk away with because let's face it, students today are installing Windows 10 and Windows 11, but that's going to change.
Yep.
They're working with SATA hard drives. That's going to change over time. Right? They're working with a 12th or 13th generation Intel processor. That's going to change. So I like to focus on the larger skill sets that students walk away with, right? That complex thinking, that troubleshooting, working with other students to solve problems, thinking on your feet, hitting that metaphorical brick wall. Like, I don't know what to do here. What do I do? Those are really good experiences to have in a safe space in the classroom and something that I'm proud that our curriculum provides.
To kind of date myself and to go to your point of things change, I think, I started with Windows XP. We had IDE drives. I think AGP was like a big thing, advanced graphics port.
Yep. No longer exists.
Exactly. A lot of things have changed. So it's like you said, yet I still fully understand today's technology too, right? It's like understanding those concepts was so important to get me to even where I am today. Even say like hypervisors and virtualization, that wasn't a thing. So that, again, just understanding the OS concepts helps a lot in that understanding how the hardware works. That's all just extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the concepts and it's a way of thinking, right? It's a troubleshooting mindset. When I'm in the IT workspace, likely I'm doing one of two things. I'm either developing and creating something new, or I'm trying to repair or fix someone else's challenges or problems. And that requires a high level troubleshooting mindset. And that's one of the things I think we do pretty well.
I'm kind of curious because even before I took those classes, so I personally took, it wasn't called ITS one and
Computer
two.
repair.
Yeah, I was in computer repair
in
and then
those days.
networking,
Yep,
right?
computer networking.
So I took those because I was actually already interested in IT, right? I had already, when I was a kid, I was working on computers, I was building computers. So I already kind of knew I wanted to take those classes, right? What are you guys either potentially doing to get people to want to take those classes, or have you kind of seen some of that transformational where, they have some interest in it, but then they take the class and they're like, oh, wow, like this is actually what I want to do.
Yeah, that's a great question. We organically have a lot of interest. Students are just naturally interested in computing and computing systems. We seem to get more interest today in the software and app development
I would think
courses. But when you were in school, we were probably at least even, if not slightly more, on the computer hardware side. Today, that's shifted, but our computer science teachers very much recognize the importance and the need to be knowledgeable on both sides of the IT fence. So it's not just enough to be knowledgeable, proficient on one side, but also to at least be introduced to the other side. So we have really strong numbers in our computer science courses, but our teachers encourage our computer science students to get next door and to take the ITS 1, ITS 2, and cybersecurity.
Yeah. I mean, again, going back to even say the Python thing, right? It's like there's the software side and then there's the hardware side.
Yeah.
So if you do understand both of them, it makes it a lot easier. Like I can personally say, I wish I would have actually taken a little more of the development side. I took some of it, but not to a useful level. I mean, I even in college took COBOL, which, is not relevant at all. But yeah, I mean, I see now just a little bit of a lack of knowledge with, say, even PowerShell, command line, being able to actually do some higher level, whether you want to call it programming or not, right? I think having the concepts of Python, Java, or any sort of coding language would probably help people on even the computer repair side, right? So
Absolutely.
it is good to kind of dabble in both, and maybe even like you said, more people are leaning towards the software side. I got to imagine a lot of that has to do with app development, and there's a lot of money in development, and there's not maybe as much on the other side. So
and it seems to be too, at our level, the high school level, parents are very much involved, and And I think parents, see perhaps there's more opportunity on the app development side and maybe steer their students in that direction. But I'd like to add to that, we encourage our students to take our electronics course as well. That's the foundation of all IT and computing systems. And in that course, we can get really granular with troubleshooting skills. We work on projects that are a week and a half, 2 weeks long, and students. It's a very humbling experience when you work on a project for that long that it doesn't work, and so you learn very quickly about that metaphorical brick wall. What do I do now? I've had students bring their project to me and basically say, "Here, Mr. Thompson, you fix it," to near tears, right? To students really taking a step back and think, "Okay, what do I do next? Who do I talk to? What do I research? What do I try to get over, around, under, through, that project? So, when I'm done, this project works." And that's the great thing about technology. It's very binary. Either it works or it doesn't. So you get immediate feedback, and students aren't used to that feedback. And that is new to them. But they're experiencing, they're having those experiences at a young age in a safe space, right? It's a project in the classroom. Sure, it's meaningful, but we're not talking about, hundreds of thousands of dollars in IT systems and budgets at play and payroll and so on. So the stakes are a lot lower, but they're still experiencing or having those experiences in the classroom, and very beneficial.
As you say that, I'm like kind of thinking about it, like the whole troubleshooting thing. And, it is one thing I guess I would kind of, pat myself on the back for is I do see myself as a pretty good troubleshooter, right? Especially in the IT space. And I think a lot of it probably actually did come from taking those classes, right?
Yeah.
People will kind of refer to it now as like Google foo, right? Like being able to just
Yeah.
like search for something and find an answer, but it's usually never that simple, right? It's like you do
Right.
still need to have base concepts and understand what am I even
Hmm.
asking Google in the first place,
Hmm.
right? It's kind of very similar to even say like Chat GPT these days, right?
Yep.
It's like it is a great tool, but the people that already have the base level of knowledge will be able to
Yes.
expedite those answers based off of the
Yeah.
troubleshooting they've done in the past. So
Yeah.
it is very
Yeah, you,
interesting.
you you still need to have prior knowledge and past experiences to draw from to make Google and Chat GPT meaningful,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not going to connect all the dots for you. You still need to connect some of those dots yourself, and that's where the experience and the past learning can take place.
Yeah, as like an
Meaningfully.
example, say using something like VMware. I don't know if do you guys get into like hypervisors like
Oh,
Hyper-V
yeah,
and things. Okay,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So again, if you don't have even a base understanding of what
Hmm.
I'll use Hyper-V as the example, since it's Windows and probably more known. Say an error comes up, and then you have to get into the CLI or something like that. It's like yes, you can Google it, but
Yes.
how are you going to then go
Yep.
through that process and
Yep.
follow it step by step by step? And even in those, I mean, Microsoft does a pretty good job of say documentation, but there's usually always some level of like interpretation that you need to
Hmm.
have with it and
Yeah.
be able to, oh, if that didn't work, well, because I do know these concepts, I can actually try this as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the reason why we still teach command line, CLI, right? Even to the level of DOS.
Yeah.
I mean, some people chuckle at DOS, but still, if you understand the DOS syntax, right, in terms of PowerShell, and you really have a higher level understanding of sequences and folders, file and folder structure, that could be really meaningful. So there's still value there,
Yeah.
even today.
Well, and it's also more efficient. I mean, just as an example, for people that whether you're about to get into the space, whether it's again you're either in high school, you're in college, you're looking to potentially get a job in the IT field, especially say you were ever to come try to work for 101 Digital, um, you know, having the command line is going to be a more efficient
Mhm.
way. But there's also, where there's servers that have no GUI, right? Like
Mhm.
Windows, that
Right.
that the base level is no GUI,
Mhm.
which again, some people wouldn't even have the slightest clue of what that means. But
Yeah.
very high level, engineers in the IT space, they prefer command line versus
Absolutely.
a GUI because
Yeah.
again, the GUI is less efficient. There's times where it can be slow. There's it adds
Hmm.
resources, a lot of different things.
And
So
there's things you can do quicker in the command line
100%.
as opposed to Windows.
So the next question I wanted to kind of go over is, how are you actually preparing these students to get into
Yeah.
internships, right? So like just as a quick example, James, who was our intern that came in last year, he already, as you talked about, he knew what a CPU was, he knew this, he knew
Mhm.
that, but it went further than that, right? Like
Mhm.
he really did know how to kind of put the pieces together. It wasn't just this base level of knowledge. Like he was able to act as a tier one technician. He had the skills not only from an IT perspective, but from a communication perspective, even going through the hiring process. He was very well prepared for, had a resume, had to go through an interview process. Like what is it that you guys are doing to kind of prepare the students for real world applied skills?
Yeah. Well, we have to take a step back. I think it's important to understand where we've been. Let's go upstream for a minute before we talk about what's coming. All this work comes out of Illinois House Bill 3296, which is the POWER Act, the Post-Secondary Act, Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act. And that is designed to get our students kind of in the pipeline for high need, high wage employment. And so from that, then we ask every school district in the state of Illinois is asked to have career pathways in place. And so that's where our work started in District 203. So within that process, then we ask students very late junior high school, early high school to start to identify a potential career interest. And that could be in IT, it could be in manufacturing, it could be in engineering, it could be in healthcare, it could be in any number of high need, high wage employment areas. From there, then, students are asked to take coursework that is considered post-secondary. So that could be either AP coursework or dual credit. So we have a lot of our career technical education courses that are dual credited with our local college, community college, College of DuPage. Within that coursework, then, students are exposed to what we call team-based challenges, where they work on authentic projects and products with guidance and influence from outside professionals. We also help our students have some level of exposure to career experiences within our curriculum as well. And then that internship is kind of one of the last pieces. That's where we ask students to have a minimum of a 60-hour internship experience. That's where James came to 101 Digital. And then to prepare for that, then we work with our students in terms of resume, what the resume looks like, their interview skills, and try to place them in with a local employer that will kind of speak to their interest. And that's one of my kind of the challenge of my job in terms of placing IT students. Again, from going full circle to one of my first comments, what is IT? IT is so many things, right? It can mean so many different things. And so one of my jobs is to help place students with employers, I think, that will respond well to their career interest.
It's, I mean, again, from our perspective, kind of just touch back on the level of, I'll call him an employee, right? Like he's a student and, just graduated, but he was an employee, right? And he seemed like he was an actual employee. It wasn't just someone that was like, hey, you're a high school intern and we have to, treat you as such, right? He came in very well prepared and really helped us out. He was doing things like imaging machines, using our ticketing software, anything that we would expect of a true tier one technician. He came in and was able to execute on all of it. And again, I think that's just kind of a, kudos to the program that you guys have created over there.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the level of our students. We have high performing students in our district. I also think it speaks to our systems that we have in place for our students to provide high levels of learning and equitable learning opportunities for all students, and the high level of expectation that we have for the program and that our employers have for our students as well.
One of the kind of last things that I wanted to talk through is just how much technology has changed even since I was a student, right? And I mean, not only just the technology landscape of, what we work on every day, like computers and everything, but just even the teaching process, right? Yeah. So we kind of joked about this earlier that, we had, chalkboards were, I guess, kind of on their way out, but they were still used. Yeah. There were whiteboards, again, just your typical whiteboards, not what I've seen today. And then, we had the little projector. Do you remember the one where they were rolling the thing and writing stuff on there? So all those things, obviously, I wouldn't say that they held us back, right? Because we obviously did just fine. But, what are some of the things that technology has helped just in education in general? Yeah. Are you guys using cloud-based things? I know students use Chromebooks these days. What are all those just kind of cool technology pieces that are utilized today?
Yeah. That's a great question. I've been an educator for 25 years, and things have really changed. Really, in the last 10 years, but more so in the last 5 years, and certainly during the pandemic. So we'll start with all of our students have Chromebooks, and Chromebooks allow for 24/7 learning. They allow for the personalization of learning and differentiated learning. Students have access to Canvas, which is our learning management system. So that's where teachers can disseminate information. They can host, conversations. We can do our assessments within Canvas. It's just kind of like this cloud-based hub of information that students can go to learn more. If a student is absent in the old days, I have to, write things out, make copies, hand them off to the students. Now, go here, go to this link for Canvas. And I say that on one hand. On the other hand, we also have to be careful as educators because we don't want to lean too much on technology. We know if we learned anything during the pandemic, we learned that the teacher is the most important resource in the classroom, and we need to be having conversations with our kids and helping our kids learn how to collaborate and how to problem solve and how to troubleshoot and how to think on their feet. And sometimes technology is the right tool, and sometimes technology is not the right tool, and that's really up to the educator's professional decision making to decide what's the best tool in this moment. And then we have there's just a lot of apps out there today that just didn't exist. And so you can use apps, as a learning strategy, but you can also use applications for extension activities as well. So I guess to summarize, the biggest way that technology has changed things is that we're giving students more control, more autonomy in their learning, right? More flexibility in their learning. And then today, also technology allows for some processes that we have in place in District 203. For example, we have at Naperville Central, we have close to 70 teams. So a team would be, for example, like an Algebra 1 team or a chemistry team or a U.S. history team or a computer science team. And those teams are charged with defining what are the most essential learning standards in this curriculum, right? And then they deliver that learning. And then we have to measure where students are at in their learning. And technology allows for that. So technology allows for students really to know where they're at in their learning in the moment. And then our teams then are charged with, once we have that assessment information, where are the gaps, right? And we can get granular, like, by student and by standard. This student is deficient in this standard. So we can start to close those learning gaps through the use of technology. And then some students are at standard. So how can we extend learning for those students? So technology really aids in that process as well.
It's really good. Yeah, and that's one of those things. There's obviously even parallels to the business world, right? Like you were kind of talking about, when everyone was remote, having the technology probably played a big part in allowing you to continue the education. But there is a sense of, being in person and being able to collaborate, like that does matter. And actually, our last podcast, we talked a lot about that, right? Like how it is very important, kind of, in business, we're talking more about culture and like how we're able to kind of create a team environment. In school, I mean, it's pretty similar, right? Like you want obviously a safe space for them where people can learn and be, able to ask questions to the teacher. And maybe in a remote technology environment, maybe that's a little harder. So yeah, it's really good to kind of see those parallels and kind of then how it all comes together, because at the end of the day, they are going to go from the schooling system onto an employer.
Yeah. It's changed some behaviors as well. I have some students who ask for a remote internship opportunity, right? And my guess is prior to the pandemic, that probably would not have even been an option, right?
Most likely,
for students as well.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I mean, the last thing that I wanted to just say is, one, again, really appreciate you coming on, but also, for introducing us to the internship program. It's one of those things where, I honestly, like, I'm a very transparent person, and like I really would not give it as much praise as I have. Again, like you've seen, me coming to the school and letting other employers know about it, but I really do want to kind of take this opportunity to, if any other employers potentially are seeing this, whether you're in the kind of the development house, and I'll let you obviously speak more into this as well, to kind of just let other people know, or even students, right? But if you're in a position to bring on an intern, whether you're developing, whether you're kind of like us, a managed IT cybersecurity company,
Hmm.
it's been extremely beneficial because one, the job market, at least as of right now, has been so difficult,
Hmm.
right? So being able to get young, essentially professionals into your business, it's been extremely helpful,
Yeah.
right? They also don't come kind of with these preconceived notions of maybe like how the business is or how they need
Hmm.
to do things. It is it's a really good kind of like blank slate for them to
Hmm.
start, and it's been extremely beneficial for us. So like again, we've been able to have James, our intern, do everything that we would expect a
Hmm.
tier one person to do,
Hmm.
right? Like I'm not even exaggerating it. It's not something where he went out there and he had limitations, right?
Hmm.
Like he is now actually a tier one. Like he just graduated high school. He's going to be coming out working full time in the summer, and then he's going to go off to college. He's going to work remotely for us. So
Hmm.
those opportunities are out there, and like you said, even if it's remote, I know that you've placed people with software company as well, and they were
Hmm.
able to work fully remote.
Hmm.
And so, if any of the employers out there have those opportunities where it's either in person, it's remote, it's only a couple of days a week. Again, it just needs to be 60 hours for the
Hmm.
total school year or semester.
Yeah, by semester, we ask for about 10 to 12 hours per week, but a minimum of 60 hours for the semester.
Yeah. So I
And
think,
and to your point, I want to kind of reinforce that it really is a two-way street. The internship program for our students, they get a chance to kind of practice and hone their skills that they've learned in the classroom. They get to work on authentic projects and products on site with their employer. They get to see a professional work environment. They learn how to communicate professionally. I can't tell you the number of email salutations I get that start with "Hey." And I think, I never communicate with my peers, right? My colleagues like that, or with parents, certainly, in a professional way. So there's a lot of skills that come along, with the students in the professional work environment. But again, it's a very symbiotic relationship. It's a two-way street. So employers, to your point, are kind of tapping into this pipeline. It truly does take a village, right?
yeah,
And I have found our employers in Naperville and in DuPage County are very willing to work with our internship program. Many of our employers either have students in District 203 or have had students in District 203 or are a District 203 graduate themselves, or they have a younger family and their children will come up through the system. So they're very interested in being involved in the community and building those partnerships and giving back. And that's been really rewarding to see from our business community.
yeah. And as kind of a show of faith in the program, we're bringing on a summer intern, right? And
Hmm.
then from there, we'll then bring on the next year intern,
Yeah.
and so on and so on. So, again, the goal is to keep them on long term,
Hmm.
right? Our
Yeah.
goal is even with any previous intern will always hopefully be that by the end of it they come on
Hmm.
full time. Again,
Yeah.
even if they're going off to college, right? Hopefully
Hmm.
it can kind of help them pay for some of their college,
Yeah.
or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
So
That's one of the rewarding outcomes. And I think kind of the ultimate vote of confidence in our program is when employers say, I'd like to hire your student,
yeah.
when they graduate or when they're done. And I guess my response is, as long as you're willing to take another intern as well as hire our former student, that would be fantastic.
I think the only other thing on that too is just that I really wish this program was around when I was a student, because one of the things to kind of touch back on our second podcast that we did was actually with James, our intern, was hearing him say too that it was nice for this internship to kind of reinforce his decision to go to school
Hmm.
for the field that he
Yep.
thought he wanted to go into, right?
Yep.
So like for me, I thought I wanted to go for computer science. I thought I then learned what computer science actually was, and it wasn't exactly what I
Yep.
wanted to go into. So
Yep.
to be able to have this
Hmm.
internship, it does help to kind of figure out, is this what I want to do, right?
Yes.
You may take those IT courses at the high school
Hmm.
level, and then you go into the workforce, and you're like, like maybe this isn't specifically what I
Hmm.
want to do.
Right.
Whether it's you know, it's not the applied thing that you're trying to do, or you don't want to be, say, at a desk job, or maybe you want to be a field technician. I mean, even within that, you can kind of get in a sense of
Hmm.
what do you actually want to do. We actually and we'll continue this with our interns, is put them through different things, whether
Hmm.
it's a tier one technician, a service manager, a project manager, maybe specifically on the cybersecurity
Hmm.
side, so they will get kind of a wide array of what can they do within the field, so that
Hmm.
they know or at least have a better sense of, I'm about to invest 4 more years of my life and potentially my entire career going down this path.
Mhm. Absolutely. And to your point, one of the big takeaways from the internship program is that students have the opportunity to work through the employability skills and reflection with their employer. And so that helps students kind of identify their strengths, but also if there are any weaknesses or gaps for learning. And we can partner with the employer and with the student and try to help close those gaps. So there's a lot of benefit in the internship program.
So the last thing I want to do, because I've obviously already kind of let everyone know from our perspective about the program, but for you, would you like to add anything? Just kind of speaking to either say an employer or even
Mhm.
student. I don't know. Again, kind of jokingly, when I was a kid, I don't know how much YouTube I
Mhm.
would be watching of say like a teacher, but
Sure.
it's like I think it is really important. I think again, seeing our intern James. He took it very seriously. And I
Mhm.
think, maybe seeing this, if you are a student that's on kind of the edge, you may be like, hey, you know what, that is actually maybe for me. And it does seem exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I would encourage students to, take a hard look at the internship opportunities. We do a great. We're really good at providing high levels of learning for our students in District 203, but this is an opportunity to kind of extend your learning opportunities and kind of get a taste of the professional world. And to your point a moment ago of, is this for me or not? And then to our potential employers, to consider taking on an intern. It really is, again, a symbiotic relationship. There's value on both sides for both our students and employers. Employers help, again, build that pipeline for the future, and there's a lot of value there for employers as well.
So, how can employers get in touch with either you or the program so that they can actually kind of start that process of getting signed up?
That'd be great. You can reach me at my District 203 email address. Again, Brett Thompson. So my email is bthompson at naperville203203.org. And that'd be a great way to start the process.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll put that obviously in the YouTube notes and when we post it on LinkedIn. And then if there's any other web links, we'll make sure all of that's in there as well. So, again, really appreciate you coming on. It's kind of a flashback to
Mhm.
2006 when I graduated high school, but it's just awesome that this has all been able to come together, and I'm glad that we're kind of continuing that education piece now together.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
thank you everyone for tuning in to another podcast episode. And if you want to find out more information about 101 Digital, you can visit us at 101digital.com. Really appreciate you guys tuning in again. Thanks.